I thought that was a mistake.
When he starts making me do yoga and meditate, I'm out of New York.
Hot yoga. All right, here's the softball, but it's
Wait,
I
let
think
me-
a
let me
legitimate
get
one.
that. Okay.
Day one of the Thompson mayoralty, what do you do?
Education committee.
Don't even do the phone. Oh, well, what will my answer be? You've had this one. This was in queue. Go ahead.
It's who runs your school system. You want to make sure that I have an educator who runs the public school system. And I've
So
said
is your
that.
chancellor.
That's your chancellor.
So does that mean, based on what you just said, Wolcott is not necessarily an educator? Does that mean he's out of the job?
I've already said that I'm going to bring my own team to the table. So it is not just Dennis Walcott.
So no Wolcott, no Ray Kelly.
I'm bringing my own team
Don't
to the
these
table.
guys have some tenure that can help the city of New York?
But you're assuming then that there aren't others who can. There are no indispensable people. Just like then, there was no need for a third term because there are no indispensable people. That's the joy and that's the glory of democracy, that it isn't about individuals, it's about the public, it's about us. So the truth is, no, there is no need to keep Ray Kelly. He's not indispensable. I'm sure I'll find another very good police commissioner for the city of New York who will make sure that New York City stays safe or gets even safer.
Does Bill Brighton come
I'm
back?
not throwing names out. There are a number of people out there who would make sure that New York City stayed the safest big city in
You two have already
America.
talked. Is that accurate?
There are a lot of people I've spoken to when it comes to policing.
No denying we're there, Mr. Thompson.
Are you looking for a job?
Oh, Dominic's got a little thing of
One
president
thing I
here.
can say is Dominic isn't going to be either the chancellor or the police commissioner.
what about the press secretary?
I
No,
you won't get either of those two
Trouble he would
positions.
get him in.
Dominic, I'm sorry, you're not going to be in the head of either of those two
Would you keep the
agencies.
same level of mayoral control over the school system that Mayor Bloomberg has taken? He seems to have increased the mayoral control, wrested it away from the school board a little bit more. Are you comfortable with that?
And as one who served as the president of that Board of Education, I don't want to go back and give mayoral control up. Would I make a couple of tweaks? Sure. But I don't think there are major changes in mayoral control. I think that, and in that point, I pointed out seriously, it really isn't a question of mayoral control or not. It is a question of who the mayor is. And right now, Mike Bloomberg has blacked out or has kept away lots of people in that area.
A couple issues. One thing that drives me nuts, and I don't think there's an easy answer to this, but I know within the next year there's going to be a major storm again, okay? Nothing has really been done to fortify Lower Manhattan, Staten Island, some of the flood-prone areas of the city you would govern. I know the city can't write a check for this. Albany's not going to write a check for you, and the feds have been, let's say, very recalcitrant in even helping out the victims of Sandy until forced. Is there anything practically you could do as mayor to make sure we're not going to go through the same thing, whether it's next year or the year after? But I guarantee if you win, it will happen to you, and we're going to have all this dislocation all over again.
Absolutely. The first thing I've said that I would appoint a deputy mayor for infrastructure because it's important. We are getting money from the federal government, from FEMA. We do have a city capital budget, and the state as well as the private sector and utilities are going to be putting money into a number of things. The only thing you can't do, you can't make a decision overnight that here's what we're going to do, because you want to make sure that you do it and do it well, that you do it in stages, that we look at Lower Manhattan, that we look at the Rockaways and other neighborhoods that have flooded and make sure that one year or one neighborhood after another, you start to rebuild things. So it's increasing the dunes, it's making sure that you increase grade. You do a number of things that make sure our subway system won't flood again in the same way that it did. But you can't.
But it's on the margins, not the main, though, right?
No, but you can't do it overnight. So you're going to have to do it in a very staged, focused fashion. So we
But
don't.
I'm not
waste.
overhyping here.
No, the
This,
truth is,
this is one of the
extreme
biggest
weather-
headaches whoever the next mayor is.
Extreme
right?
weather and extreme weather
Okay.
situations are part of our
Let me
lives.
get to a couple quick things here. Why are you better than Christine Quinn?
It's not a question of why I'm better than Christine Quinn or anybody else. Why do I think I'm the best person to be the mayor of the city of New York? It's a combination of my background. You look at my background in the private sector, municipal finance world. You look at my background as a deputy borough president, president of the Board of Education, Comptroller of the City of New York, the chief financial officer, experience both in public and private sectors. It's the accumulation, it's the totality
Well,
of
Mr.
that
Thompson,
experience
let's try it a
that
different
puts me
way
in a
then. Let's
position
try it a different
and
way
the
then.
ability to lead and
Let's try it
understand
a
all the
different
boroughs.
way.
Yes.
All the polling indicates a runoff between you and Christine Quinn. So what are her liabilities then?
See, I'm not going to see.
He's not
It
tried
isn't a question of.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Don't give in to these guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Congressman. But it's not a question of a runoff, because the truth is, I think that I can win this without a runoff.
Wait a minute. Are you telling us, between the six of us
You
here,
didn't
are
bel-
you telling us,
Dominic,
Bill Thompson,
Dominic,
that you will avoid a runoff and
Dominic,
get 40% of the
Dominic,
vote in the primary?
You didn't believe me in 2009.
Why are you going there?
Dominic, believe me.
He is
believe
right.
me in
He is right.
2013,
Richard,
Dominic.
we had private dinners. Me, him, and Reverend Al Sharpton, and I basically said, Bill, why are
Lucky
you doing
you.
this?
No, you said,
you
Bill,
can't win.
Bill,
you can't win.
We're going to
And he
stage
pro-
an
and he-
intervention for you, Bill.
Yes,
We're going
and
to
he,
get
and
you
he
help.
proved us
Okay,
wrong.
that's what he
But
did.
what are Christine Quinn's liabilities? Back to the question.
I think that in the end, it's less a question of her liabilities and more a question of what are my strengths. And also, one of the strengths that I have, the ability to lead New York City and all 5 boroughs and the people
You
in
saw
those
the
boroughs.
story today in the New York Times about her temperament.
Yes, I think the thing that concerned me the most in that story is any elected official who uses their office to deprive the constituents of any district. And I saw that. That was one of the concerns. It was
And you're
punishing
referencing, Miss
one of
Crowley
the city
and the Queens neighborhood.
Exactly.
Talk about the one issue that said 4 years ago, after the election, you were the de facto nominee for the Democratic Party for mayor, and when assuming Bloomer didn't run for a 4th term, that this was yours. But Christine Quinn wants it more, and other people want it more. Speak to the hunger in the belly that this is something you desperately want.
You know, people have asked, hunger in the belly, are you going to be strong enough? I was president of the Board of Education. I stood up to Rudy Giuliani and moved that education system for him and took that challenge on. I ran for comptroller against someone who outspent me 2-1, and I won that election. I ran against the richest person in the city of New York, incumbent mayor, and came that close in beating him, and people thought, don't run, hang on to your position. Each and every time someone talks about fire in the belly or the ability to take a challenge on, I've stood up and taken those challenges on. So I'm not worried. That's what my opponents say, because it's easier to try and be dismissive. It'll be nice to watch January 1st of 2014 when I'm on the steps of City Hall and my father's swearing me in as the next mayor.
Do you want to jump on anything else, Tom?
I wanted to follow up with the Times story. What problem do you have with Quinn in terms of they raised the issue of her temperament?
And the truth is, look, others will talk about that. The biggest issue that concerned me in that story, as I pointed out, you deprived, because you were angry at a member of the city council. There was no denial in that. You were angry at a member of the city council for not putting your name in their press release, so you deprived their constituents of dollars and services. There is something wrong with that. So now I'm not talking about temperament. That was something that wasn't denied. You were angry at a member of the city council because they didn't put your name in their press release, and in fact, you removed funds from the constituents of that district. That I have a problem with.
Now that's a good answer. That's what you look for from a politician.
Get ready
Not
for
on the
summation
not
here.
on
All
the
right.
temperament, but on the merits, on the substance.
A lot of love at this table. We take a quick break. It's a
great table, let me tell you.
You want us over. I forget those guys. Yes, exactly. Yes, they're telling me to say goodnight, Bill. I know you're on to an event. Thank you very much for
Richard,
coming
great
back.
seeing you.
All right. When we come back, everybody, we're going to be talking about a filibuster for Newtown. Right now, members in the Senate get ready to actually block the up or down gun law votes here. We got a Connecticut resident and somebody who knows Washington better than anybody who's going to explain what's going on in D.C. Stay with us.